this is Gary D. Tonnencourt from morethanasnapshot.com. This week we're going to be reviewing some great images and talking about a lot of things that will help you to improve your photography. If you're not part of our class, you can join by visiting morethanasnapshot.com and you will get over 58 lessons on how to improve your photography. There are worksheets, there are videos, and you get this private Facebook group where you can post your questions and your images and get weekly critiques. So let's dive right into this and see what we have this week. Here we have some, of course we're going to have a lot of snow images. We're buried up here in New England, and we have a nice school shot here, and it's great that you got out and shot some snow pictures, and we're going to be talking about how snow affects exposure because it's adding a lot of white to the scene. So first of all, the sky is looking good. It's not overexposed because probably this sky wasn't even the brightest part in the picture. Probably the snow was. And one of the problems that happens when you shoot snow, because there's so much white in the picture, is that it tends to look a little bit grayish because your camera tries to make everything 18% gray. So you need to actually use your exposure compensation, or if you're shooting in manual mode, you need to change your exposure to make the picture a little bit brighter. Sometimes as much as 1 or 2 stops brighter, so that the snow is actually white and not dingy gray. So you didn't do bad with this picture. The building is nicely exposed. The sky is not overexposed, and we do seem to have some sort of white snow here in the foreground. But there is a lot of sort of, it probably could be a little bit brighter, is what I would say about that. So let's take a look at our whites, and let's just see if we pumped up our whites just a little bit. We don't want to overexpose them, so we just overexposed some on the roof. So we'll just take it down a little bit to just to the point where they're not overexposed, and it is whiter than it was before. If we take a look at the before and after, see, this was a bit dimmer than we have over here. Everything in the picture is nice and sharp. We have good depth of field, so technically I think you did a great job with doing this picture, except that the picture was a little bit underexposed, and that's due to all the white in the scene again. Now, when you do shoot a building, what can happen with a wide-angle lens is you get some distortion. You can see how the lines in the building sort of look like they're pointing inward towards each other. So there are tools in Lightroom to help with this. And let me come down to where they are. Oh, here we are. Lens correction. And so if Lightroom knows what lens you have, I don't know what camera or what lens you have, if it was the 10 to 22 or not, I don't know, that might automatically correct some of your problems, but it still didn't correct sort of the bending lines. So there are a couple of ways you can do that. You can have Lightroom try to automatically fix this by hitting auto, and sometimes it does a good job, but I don't think it really fixed everything in this case, so I'm going to shut that off. Let's try vertical only. Yeah, that did make a difference in this tower here, specifically is where I'm seeing the things that are closer to the edges of the photo are going to be more warped looking usually than the things more in the middle. So I think that helped. I don't know if that helped more or less than auto. I think it helped more than auto in my opinion. Let's try full. Oh, full did quite a lot of stuff, and you can see here that we have some white space now because it really is tilting the image to fix the perspective. I think it made this part of the building look better, but it totally kind of messed up this part of the building, so it really stretched out this area. So that's some options. Of these options, I think the vertical did the best job, but you also have manual controls. And you could come in here and try to fix this yourself. And I'm using this distort slider to try to And as you can see here, find a spot that will make this look better, straighter. Let's try vertical. I might have over distorted that. Let me take it down a little bit. And all right, let's try the vertical slider and see the effects that is, you know, I can really make it go crazy here, but let's just try to get some nice straight lines. They give you these grid lines to help you try to figure it out. I think that's looking pretty good, actually. Just by using a couple of sliders, I think we have really helped out and straightened out those parts of the building. So that's what the lens correction tab will do for you. Let's take a look at the next image. Ah, here we have, looks like a fire station, and in the snow, we can see the... It's cool to see the snow, but I think in this case, these two big white flakes are kind of taking away from the image. They're kind of distracting, but you know, the other snowflakes are small, so they kind of look cool like atmosphere, but these two were so close to the lens that they look big and white, and I think that's hurting the image. Again, it is a bit underexposed. You can see here our snow is not completely white, so that adding a little bit of exposure is going to help that. The balance of the image feels a little off, having so much weight here with the building, and then I understand why you did it. You wanted to include the flag, but I'm not sure that that really helps with the story. Remember, try to think of the story you're telling, and if the story is fire station, then maybe the flag doesn't have to be there, especially if it's kind of making the balance of the image off a little bit. So I don't really like having the basketball thing there, so let's cut that off too. Well, it's still a little bit off, but I think that helps it a little bit. A lot of cool stone buildings in Swansea, I guess. And nice to see it in the snow, although not as much snow as we have up here in Northern Rhode Island. And it looks like it's in focus, and again, the exposure's not bad, but I think it needs to be a bit brighter so we have nice white snow. Very good. Here we have a different angle at the building. Again, same thing. I would brighten it up a bit. And I think I like this angle a bit better. There's some funny coloration looking over here. I don't know if that's just its natural color, maybe, or from a distance it seems like there's some sort of weird flare or something there, but there's not. It's probably just the way the coloration in the building look. You could probably just tone down the orange colors if that's distracting. So to do that, you have an area called the HSL color in black and white, and there is an orange slider. We can go to saturation and try toning down orange just a touch. Maybe a little bit of yellow, touch of red. I don't know. To me, there's just that brick, just that area. I think it's a little bit better toned down, but it's probably just my eyes. The image is very good, and I like this angle better. Another interesting stone building, a library. Again, same issues. I think that it needs to be a little bit brighter. I find the bright blue mailbox doesn't fit with the color theme of the rest of the building, and you know, depends what reason this image is for. You know, obviously if it's for your town, you want to show the sign of what this building is, then yes. But if not, the sign kind of doesn't need to be there. But good image. Now this one's way underexposed compared to some of the other ones, or it seems like it is, because it's not. We can make it a bit brighter. Another interesting stone building, and this one's got less distractions. I like this one. This one really doesn't do it for me. It's kind of dull. We don't even get a sense of what this building is, and technically, though, it's just the exposure that it needed to be better. Now, this image I really like. I like sort of the panoramic crop to it. We have a center of interest, and we can see the snow and the beach sand, and it's still snowing. And so we got to give you a lot of credit for, you know, going out in the snow and doing this. So good job. Oh, another nice beach scene. This time we have some interest in a third of the frame, and then a view out into the ocean. So I like the composition. I think on these shots too, your exposure is better. Your snow looks whiter. So I don't know if you had switched to more manual control, but whatever you did, it did a better job with the exposure. And I believe you said you went to manual, but I'm not sure. But you could definitely see this is a much better exposure through the snow and the tree and everything. Nice shots. I really like this one. It's got a lot of mood to it. I think it could use, well, it depends. It might need contrast. Let's see how it looks. If we add some blacks, that'll bring out the tree. But it makes the tree, the yellow and green in the tree. Do we like it less contrast or more contrast? I tend to like things with a little bit more contrast, so I would add a little bit contrast. But I liked it the way you had it also. I noticed when I added that bit of contrast, it really brings out the greens in the tree, and I think that I preferred it. It looked a little more monotone, a little more black and white the way you had it. So I'll just grab a quick black and white preset and see. I'm not getting a preview because my computer's lagging a little, but let's just throw one on there and see how it looks in black and white. Yeah, I do like it better in black and white. Maybe we don't need as much contrast. But it did look good the way you had it also. So either way is fine. I think that I'm going to reset it. Take a look at the way you had it again. And I think it was fine this way. I think it would just turn down the saturation and the yellows and the greens. I like it a little more monotone. Shows the cold mood a little bit better, I think. Maybe a little bit down on the orange. Yeah, no, that's less distracting. I don't mind seeing a little bit of the color in the tree, but it was this yellow, orangey, greenish colors in the branches that I think was throwing me off. I like this processing. Again, that's just my personal opinion, but I think this is a great image. I could probably, this is tough. You know, I would like to have seen that this building here was cut off and this was cut off, but if you do that, you're going to cut off part of the tree, so you have to make that decision. Let's give it a try. If we don't include those things, I'm going to uncheck my proportion so that we can keep this base. I think it's important to keep the base of the tree. We don't want to lose the top of the tree. We just want to lose these buildings on the sides. it makes it feel a little bit tight. This is a tough one where you almost have to leave it the way it is. It was more balanced the way you had it. It's just that we could see those buildings, which is a shame, but you have to because the tree goes, you know, all the way up to the building. So not much you could do there, but a cool image. Good job. Oh, are we back to this, or did I must have downloaded another copy of that one. All right, now we're on to some deer. I love deer shots, and this is cool. It's showing some behavior. It's probably having a hard time finding food, eating your shrubs, and it's a very young deer. You can see the very soft fur, but it is nice and sharp in focus, and you captured some behavior, and your exposure looks good on this one too. No exposure problems. The composition's okay. Good job. I like this one because we have, you know, the engagement with the deer is looking right at us, and it's cool to see the snow on the top of its head and on its back. And it's just the one problem here is you cut off the tail, and I think that's a bit of a problem to lose the tail like that. But that would have been, this would be my favorite one of the group so far. This one's good, but his face is kind of cut off. Oh, there really isn't much of a tail. So, but it still looks like in the previous image you cut off the tail. So, I still think that's a problem. These are really cool, and the exposure is better on these. On these, I would almost say the exposure is a little overexposed. Take a look at this snow back here. It's white, but it's like now getting to be overly white. So let's tone down the whites just a tad. Since this is a JPEG, it's really not going to, it's not really going to help. But I do love this part of the image. You have nice, soft, silky water. It's very interesting, sort of framed by this tree. And we have some cool flock of ducks up here. A nice image, but it's kind of got a lot going on in it. I don't know if it would have been, it probably would have been better to focus on just capturing a shot of the waterfall, or focus on getting a shot of the ducks in the ice. To me, it's two separate subjects, especially when you throw in this tree. Now there's kind of a lot going on, even though I do like this image. But you do have a little bit of exposure problems up here. And it's weird that this seems to be so much brighter than this area down here. I don't know if this was in the sun and this was in the shade, or what the story is, but that's a little bit off. Now here you did try getting in more on the waterfall and the ducks, so I think you were heading in the right direction. If you could have found an angle to, I think the tree in this case is just a distraction. I would not have included the tree, but to each his own. In this case, I think having the tree with a little bit of space here and then seeing the rest of the waterfall, it's not bad. And we have a little bit of balance for the tree with this giant rock or ice boulder, whatever this is over here, and we get a little bit closer on the ducks. So I think this one is alright. I think now you're getting warmer into a better composition where you're focused on a subject. The ice and the water, it's a much more simplified subject, and I think you're on the right track. Again, I really like this one, again, because of the balance. You do have the tree here, but now you have an offsetting tree. It gives some balance to the image. It is overexposed, though. You've got nice white snow, but you went a little bit too far. So I would tone that down just a little bit. And again, I like the soft, silky water and the interesting, the whole scene is interesting. We probably don't need the sky. You probably could have composed a little tighter. Although we would have to make a different aspect ratio to get rid of the sky. Maybe something like that. Yeah, I kind of like that. And I really like this one. Again, simplified. You picked a subject, and there's not a lot of other competing stuff. Now, technically, it doesn't look super sharp. There might be some motion blur. You were shooting probably at a slow shutter speed to get this silky water, and maybe you weren't on a tripod or what, I'm not sure, but it doesn't look, the rocks should look, and the ice should look sharper, even though this is blurred. So, storytelling and composition wise, I think this one's good, but I think that you blew the sharpness on this one. Here we have a nice self-portrait, and welcome to the class. For some reason you didn't want to show us your face, so you found a creative way of getting around it. And again, when you tend to shoot in the auto modes, and you're going to get underexposure when you're shooting white subjects. And so I would take up my whites here to see. That's going to overexpose the sky, so I can only take them up a little bit. But good job, very creative anyway, using the snow in your shot. This one I like. It's very cool looking icicles. They have a nice bent shape to them, almost like long fingernails or something. Let's see if the exposure could probably be a little bit brighter. But nice shot. This one, it doesn't seem to have the impact for me as the other one did, but it's okay. Again, not a whole lot of impact for me, but others might like it. Nice. This one you've focused in on a few icicles. Probably could be a little bit brighter. And yeah, that could be a nice shot. Well, I'm just seeing something about the sharpness here. This icicle looks nice and sharp. This part of it does, but this part right here is gone out of focus. Maybe you needed more depth of field, or maybe you moved or something, but not perfect focus there. This one's kind of nice, would make a nice background for something. Your exposure's looking better, you made these brighter. I like this one more than the other hanging vertical you had, because this one has some more interesting icicles, and this is sort of a curved leading line taking us through the photo, and the exposure looks good and the sharpness looks good, so I think this one's is a good job. This is a really nice shot. I like how you used this framing of this door to sort of have us peer in. It's a nice scene. It's got great storytelling. There's a connection between mother and baby. And the exposure is looking good. And sharpness is looking good. Even though I think you did a lot of things right here, I have to wonder if the opening is kind of narrow. You have very narrow opening between the doors here. It is enough to see the main subject, although you did cut off, but it's alright, you cut off a lot of the leg, I guess. I don't know, it's fine, it's probably fine. It just seems like there is a very narrow opening, and then there's a lot of blocked space. So I like most of it, but I think that could be a little bit of a problem. Here we have a nice leading line taking us out to an endpoint here, both in the sky. The sky is a little bit overexposed. If we could take that down, and we could probably pump up the shadows a bit to see a little more detail in here. The problem with this is, one, there's not much going on. If there was something interesting happening on this path, this is a great location. So like if you could put a jogger on here, or a deer, or anything interesting going on, that would be great. With nothing there, it's a little bit dull. Also, the lighting, the time of the day that you were there, I mean, it is some interesting shadows on the pathway, but not very exciting lighting. But good try. It's a great location, and you should visit this location at different times of the day and see if you can get it with different lighting and different, maybe with some action going on. Now this is cool. I like that it's backlit and you have a little bit of side lighting on the tools here. It really highlights the tools. The point of focus seems to be here, so I think you needed a little more depth of field to get the pen and, you know, maybe at least from pen to pen to be in focus. This whole part of the shot is very interesting, though. Nice to have a triangle, interesting tools, leading lines, all those kinds of things are working for you. Exposure problems, you do have something brighter in the background than your foreground. That's a problem because that draws our eye up here instead of it being down here where it should be. So you could try to darken that down with the brush tool. So I'll just take the brush and knock down the exposure. We can't really crop out the sky because the pencil goes up high. So we could use this. I'm doing it quick and fast and dirty here, trying to knock down the exposure in the background. Maybe it doesn't have to be quite that much, so we'll just lighten it up a bit. So now it's not quite, you know, quite so overexposed and not drawing our eye away from the important part of the image. But good job of finding a creative subject. Oh, that's overexposed, but that's alright. That's supposed to be white. And I really like the idea you had going here. It looks like a top of a cupcake with a snowman and some nice bokeh balls in the background. Bokeh! And so it's a great background for this kind of shot. And it's an interesting subject, and I like how you filled in, you know, the white border is fine. It really goes with the type of scene you've got going on here. But I have to wonder why you have the snowman so turned away from us. I could understand if it was a profile to see, you know, maybe the nose sticking out sideways and all those kinds of things. But it's like more than a profile. It's like almost tilted away from us. So I think that's a little bit of a problem. I think it could have worked better if it was either directly a profile or if it was 3/4 towards us, or even straight on to us. You know, a different angle might have helped this photo. But I like the idea, and there are certain elements of it that are really great. Now this image is really great. It's really sharp, and it was really well planned out. The pencils are perfectly aligned. They're all sharpened to about the same amount. You've got interesting color schemes. I love that the pencils are all black and all you see is the different colors on the tips. It's a really cool shot, nicely set up. The one thing you have to watch out for is down here at the bottom. This pencil is almost cut off. It looks like you've just barely made it, but in a contest, the judge might deduct points for cutting off a piece of the subject like that. But I really like it. Other than that, you got a nice clean black background, and we can see definite differences in tones in the black of the pencils compared to the background, which is tough to do. So you did a good job on the exposure. We got a nice highlight here, which helps separate it from its background. Everything is done really well. Good job. Whoops, I'm zoomed in on this one. Oh, we can see that it's really nice and sharp. This is a great image. I love the soft white background. It really goes well with the hat. It is really nice and sharp. We can see the clarity in the eyes. You can even see the reflection of the person in the eyes. The exposure is great, and you know, cute subject, and really well done. Great portrait. Not much going on as far as expression, but that, you know, I think that doesn't matter. The, you know, the cuteness of the subject, and you know, can carry the image. Now here you have nice expression and engagement between the parent and the child, and it's cool that the child is looking at the camera. More of a sort of an in-between shot. The kid looks like, was he sledding on a box or something? So looks like a lot of fun. Great job. Again, great engagement, interesting expression, and that's really what you're going for with these kind of shots. And the background is nice and clean and not distracting. So this is really great. Nice series. Oop, I think that is our last image. And I hope you enjoyed these critiques and that you get out there and take some shots. I know it's cold and snowy, but let's keep photographing, and that's how we're going to get better. And again, thanks for visiting morethanasnapshot.com, and if you would like to have your images critiqued, make sure you join my class. Good night, everyone.
If you like this video, please be sure to hit subscribe down at the bottom so you can see our future videos. Also, you might want to check out the show notes to see my other websites like morethanasnapshot.com, where you can take my online photography class. Also, like us on Facebook so you'll know what's new with morethanasnapshot.com.